Let's start in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Whew.
Game was not close. Game was nowhere as close as the final score indicates. Ted, this was an old fashioned whooping.
Yes.
Texas looked good. There is just absolutely nothing else you can say. Sure, do you want to talk about how Michigan lost all the guys they sent to the NFL a year ago? Sure, you can talk about that.
They still got good players. They got a
Still
bunch of good
got good
players.
players, and they still got a good defense. Watch how they play defense this year against the teams in the Big Ten. Texas looked great. They looked like a national title contender. That's the way that they looked. They went on the road into a hostile environment and completely bullied
They
Michigan.
emptied that place,
Yeah.
emptied it, took over, were singing their fight songs in the defending national champion stadium. Empty.
It's impressive. I mean, there's just, you have to acknowledge how impressive it is. And I thought Ewers looked really good. I thought he did a nice job of being accurate with the football, used his mobility when he had to extend plays. He has two or three runs every game with his legs that are massive plays in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He did that again. And I don't think Sarkisian asked him to make a ton of difficult throws, but when there were opportunities down the field, he connected and they made big plays. Speaking of Sarkisian, his ability to create situations where his players either have a one-on-one matchup in space or they are wide open in space is incredibly impressive.
Yes,
I
sir.
love how he utilizes his running backs in the passing game. There is no one better in the country at getting his running backs the ball in space to go make plays. How many
His
how many
offense reminds.
times how
Yeah.
many times did those running backs catch it in the flat with either no one within 6 or 7, 8 yards of them, or them versus a flat defender one on one? It was over and over and over again.
Yep. Yep. His offense is. It reminds me of an NFL offense, how they operate it. And when people say, "Oh, it's a tight game," I'll go with coach and quarterback. This combination is why you go coach and quarterback. Sarkisian designs a fantastic game plan, and Quinn Ewers goes out and executes it perfectly. He was sharp. He made good throws. He made the smart play. Like you said, whenever he needed to do something and extend and maybe take a little bit of a risk, he was nails, threw guys open. I mean, there's a couple plays, and I didn't get to see much of the second half.
You didn't
I
miss
saw
anything.
first
This
half.
game was over. I
Yeah,
mean, it was over quick.
but he's throwing guys that are. I mean, you got a defender here and a receiver here. He's throwing the ball over here as he's the guys are covered, and he's throwing it to a spot and throwing those guys open, and they ran the ball right at him, moved him off the football, gap scheme stuff. Um,
Pin
it
pull
was
stuff was so good, getting the ball out on the perimeter, using their speed. Michigan just they gashed them.
they used a lot. Like Michigan's really good on the interior, and they used it against them. They would do some of like the pin pull stuff or gap scheme, and they would jumble everything up inside. Those D linemen would get penetration, but they'd all be falling over each other, and then they'd push it to the outside. Execution was great, and their defense played awesome. Michigan turned it over. Michigan, the way they play, you cannot turn the football over, and they turned it over what, two times at least in the first half. Nope, not going to happen. You're not a come from behind team.
Texas did everything you need to do to go win a big game on the road. more
Yep.
physical at the line of scrimmage. That offensive line, they played well, man. That
Yes, they
interior,
did.
I think I thought Jake Majors got a lot better last year, and him not playing in the OU game a season ago, I thought that was a big loss for their team. He made himself some money in this football game. I thought he played a hell of a game at center for
Mm-hmm.
Texas. And I mean that Texas offense made a really good Michigan defense look pedestrian.
Yep.
It was impressive. I also like Gunnar Helm, the tight end for Texas. I
Had a
thought losing
big game.
Sanders from a year ago, there was going to be quite a bit of drop off. That guy made plays. I
You
mean,
look
he
good.
looked great, but Michigan's really bad at quarterback. How bad is Alex Orgy if he can't get in the game with the way that Davis Warren was playing?
Yeah.
That guy
Yeah.
should not be
Wasn't
playing
good.
quarterback for Michigan.
Now I'll say this. I thought Texas, I mean, they got problems at quarterback, Michigan does, but they're still good on the offensive line. They're good at tight end, and they are big and physical at tailback. And Texas stood toe to toe with them and stopped the run for a pretty good portion of that game that I saw. Um, I I was really impressed with Texas front seven. 78 still looked incredible for Michigan, though. My
No,
God, that guy is
no
good.
doubt. No doubt. There,
I
hey,
mean, he's still just like locked out on pass plays, just moving people, running the ball. But yeah, that was Texas. I I laughed whenever uh, Andy Staples said Texas and Georgia. Well, I ain't laughing now. They look that good, and we have a long way to go in not a very much amount of time to be able to compete with that.
only other thing on this game, lot lot of Connor Stallions jokes on social media. Everyone was getting them off. But hey, credit to the Longhorns. That's a hell of a performance in a big time environment. Look good. There's nothing else you can say. Colorado at Nebraska. Cornhuskers got after him. This one was not close. Final score 28-10. This thing was over early. Nebraska goes right down the field on the first drive of the game. Shadur Sanders makes a massive mistake, throws it late all the way across the field, deep in his own territory, pick six. Then it felt like it was over when that made it 14-0. I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to really watch anymore. This feels
Yep.
over.
Yep. Yeah, it was
It's
boy,
28 to nothing at the half, man.
yeah. Boy, Nebraska's fan base was craving that one.
Oh yeah.
They needed it. They needed it bad.
And the game kind of went exactly how we thought it would. Nebraska was just more physical. Colorado could not even try to run the football. And then they got in such a big hole that they kind of just had to abandon it altogether. And Travis Hunter can only do so many miraculous things. Okay.
Right.
This was a physical mismatch. And Dylan Raiola looks like the real deal, man.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he played well. I thought for the most part he was really smart with the football. I like the fact that there's a handful of throws every single game where he just goes, YOLO, let's see what happens. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got the type of defense that Nebraska has. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that he looks like he's going to be an absolute star. And the question for me is, how many guys really talented guys can he get to come play with him, and how fast can they get really, really good?
Well, yeah, I mean the good thing is it's going to be a story. If, playing Colorado was great for them because there's a ton of attention there. And their schedule is not, considering what the Big Ten looks like now, their schedule's not all that difficult. They could be able to really catch some fire and do something and grab some attention. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're going to be good enough to compete for a Big Ten championship this year, but I guess you never know what happens. But they're still going to get a ton of attention. And I think that plays right into what you're saying is like, if they become a story and Raiola continues to play really well, I know they've got some NIL money to throw around there. They got a fan base that wants to be good in a big way, and they're going to try and build on this. So I'm with you. I think the the landscape of college football now has tilted back to an area where Nebraska can have some success.
I completely agree. And let's not forget, Matt Rule's a hell of a football coach.
Yeah, he is.
He's a hell of a football coach. So we'll see. At only other thing on this game, Shadur Sanders, just it's hard to be good when you're under that much pressure and you have no balance offensively.
Yeah.
So I don't know really how much to criticize him and his performance. It's just Nebraska's defense really just controlled the entire football game.
Yeah.
So it it is what
Colorado's
it is.
just they're not very good. They've got a handful of really good players, but they're not good enough on the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball to do any real damage. They're
That
they're going to be the same story week in, week out when they get in the Big 12. It ain't going to be easy.
that is this game is the ultimate you win games at the line of scrimmage example.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nebraska just pushed them around.
Yep.
Speaking of getting pushed around, my goodness, Tennessee. Neutral site game against NC State. Vols win 51-10. And we wondered, hey, does NC State, did Grayson McCall in that offense, do they have enough juice to hang with Nico and the Vols? And not
No.
only not only did they not have it, they turned it over 3 times. And one of
Yeah.
those was a pick six.
Well, I mean, it was like, wasn't it like 10-3 with like 2 or 3 minutes left before halftime? And then Tennessee, I think was Tennessee broke it open.
Tennessee just gashed them in the second half with their running game. They end up with, I think, 249, 250 yards rushing. And they run so many different variations of that counter play. They get to it from so many different formations, different motions, and they just seem to find ways to get their running back in space with no one around him.
Yep.
Just pouring it downhill in that
And
counter concept. And on the other side of things, Tennessee's defensive line, there's a lot of talk about that group leading into the season. Hey, could they be possibly one of the best defensive lines in the country? They completely stuffed NC State's run game. 39 yards rushing for the
ouch.
Wolfpack. Just completely controlled things at the point of attack.
Yeah. And that counter play, Nico, he can make you pay. And that changes things a lot when they've got variations where the quarterback keeps it to the outside, up the middle.
Yeah,
Do a lot
he
of
had a long
things.
touchdown run.
Yep.
Just
Yep. So
parted like the Red Sea there in the middle, and he housed it.
yep. So they've got it going on pretty good right now. That is coming up quick.
Yes. And Nico he made some mistakes in this game.
Yeah.
He threw 2 picks. Now, one of them he got hit. The other one, the ball just kind of sailed on him. But the thing about him is when there are explosive plays to be made down the field, it feels like he puts the ball on the money. Right. And when Josh Heupel's offense is humming the way he wants it to be humming, it is run game, run game, run game. Make you come closer to the line of scrimmage because you're getting gashed. Throw RPO stuff in behind you with the slants, and then just throw it over your head.
Yep.
And they seem to already have found that rhythm with Nico Iamaleava at the quarterback position. And here's the thing. He's only going to get better.
Yeah.
This is the worst version of this Tennessee offense.
Every time you see him, it's going to be the worst version that you'll see of him in the future. Yeah.
That was impressive. That game was not close. I mean, just a really impressive second half from Tennessee, but kind of mid second quarter on, they felt completely in control.